welcome to Strictly Hockey. I am Jacob Brown, joined here with Adam Kupferman. We're down to the final 6, 7, 8 games, depending on which team you like, left for the NHL season. Steve Cashin, hopefully he's going to join us at some point during this pod. He's taking his final exam. It's finals week for us. We're getting ready to be done with this year, going into summer. It's going to be fun. Steve, I'm sure he's happy about the Tampa Bay Lightning clinching a playoff spot. And I know you are too, Adam, and you wanted to talk about them first.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm just happy they have a chance to defend the title. I'm happy with the playoff run. I'm not satisfied, but I'm happy that they made the playoffs. The thing I like about them though is, here in the last stretch run, they've got they played 49 games, so they've got 7 games left. In the last three or so games, I've noticed that they've kind of kicked it into high gear and they're getting ready for playoff hockey. And I think that's what, not that I want to see them flip that switch, but I want to see them be consistent with their play. And so far, I've liked what I've seen. Just the thing to McElhinney, he'll probably get in 7 games, he'll probably get 2 more starts.
Probably, yeah. I mean, if you guys have a back-to-back, definitely.
Yeah. So I'm thinking if they can play well in front of McElhinney, which they haven't done all year, that's the sign to me that this team's ready for another deep run. But regardless of what happens there, in the last 3 games or so, they've been kicking it into high gear. They played Florida, Nashville, and they played Chicago last night. I really I like what I'm seeing right now, and I want to see that continue to grow.
Yeah, well, I think the Lightning are a team that now that they've won, right when they start to play like they were last year, you can automatically flip the switch in your head and say they're ready. They know how to do this now. You can't use the argument that, they choke every year. No, they know what they're doing now. They know when to turn the switch on and off as a team. And, in a regular season where they were, quote, staying pace while being one of the best teams in the NHL, and, you're looking at them and it's like, they still could have been better. Now you're seeing, okay, if they had been like this the whole season, they would have ran away with first place. But for teams that go to the playoffs, know that they're going to get there, they wait until this time of the season to say, okay, boys, now we got to tighten up. We got to, play our perfect game, prepare for the playoffs. And that certainly seems to be what the Tampa Bay Lightning are doing. You like to see it. Kucherov is back. Stamkos looks like he's coming back for the playoffs as well. So you're going to have a fully healthy squad the entire time, which you won a cup without a fully healthy squad. So now you could argue this Lightning team is even better than last year's because you have Savard, now a puck mover on the right side, something you didn't have last year. And so I like this Lightning roster actually better than last year's. So for all the people that are like, they're second, third place, they're not the same team, just watch out. They'll be in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I love hearing you talk up the Lightning. It's
it
almost
hurts.
as fun. It's almost as fun as hearing Steve shit on Vegas.
It's painful for me, so it makes it better.
Yeah. For sure. And these teams who know that they're going to be playoff teams and they can flip the switch. The good teams, they can do that. But I think they also should worry about a team like Nashville and Dallas who are starting to heat up at the right time and who have been playing this playoff hockey, for the last, month or so. At this point, Nashville's definitely been playing playoff hockey for the last month. And UC Suarez, what he's been doing in net for Nashville, keeping them in all the games, it's pretty remarkable. So, good teams can flip that switch and get ready for playoff hockey. But I'm interested to see like a team like Florida, like Carolina, what they can do versus a team who's been playing that style for months,
Yeah, no, I mean, Nashville's been in a situation where they got to win every game, and every team trying to get into those fourth place spots is in that position. And I think Nashville is the team to watch out for because of one stat. And we talked about this during the last pod. Nashville's 27-22-2, and Dallas is 21-16-12. So it's a huge discrepancy. I look at Nashville and I say, you know what? They know how to lock up games at the end. If they go to OT, they're not going to lose. They've only lost twice. Dallas has lost 12 times. So if you really look at Dallas's schedule, 21-16 really turns into 21-28. So to me, Nashville is by far a more legitimate team. Yes, Dallas was in the Stanley Cup Finals last year. We get that. And I'm not saying that they're not a playoff team talent-wise. I just think this year I don't know if it's a hangover from last year or because of the COVID situation that started their year and they had to bunch up a bunch of games. Radulov's been out for a period of time. Sagan, they just haven't been able to put things together. But I think Nashville, and I wasn't too positive on them initially going into the season. I said, I don't think they have enough scoring depth. I think they depend too much on their defense. And we didn't really know who UC Saros could be. But now that Saros has established himself this year, at least as a lockdown goaltender, or at least he's shown the ability that he can be for long stretches of time, that's a dangerous team to run into. And if you're the Carolina Panthers, if you're the Florida Panther, did I say Carolina Panthers?
Yes,
Carolina Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, Tampa Bay Lightning, you run into the Predators, it's going to be, they're very Columbus Blue Jacket like. You're going to go into those games.
Sneaks up on you.
Right. They're going to grind you out and they're going to win those 2-1 games because they know their goaltender can stop the puck. Now, I think Tampa in particular would be much more acquitted to be in that situation. I wonder why, because Vasilevsky is the best goaltender on planet Earth right now. So I think Saros is a little bit more of a lesser threat to them. But Florida, Bobrovsky up and down. It's like, okay, you're going to really trust Chris Driedger in a playoff situation. You look at the Panthers. You're really going to trust, who is it, Mrazek or Reimer?
The Hurricanes.
Yeah, is it Reimer or Mrazek for them?
Last year they switched it back and forth.
So it's like, I worry about that a little bit more with
them.
And
Nedeljkovic.
Yeah, that's right. Now. Yeah, so it's like you don't even know what they're going to do. So if I'm Carolina, I'm most worried about facing Nashville. But I think Tampa, honestly, you're a fan, you're gonna have those worries. But Vasilevsky kind of eliminates the Saros problem to a certain respect. But that division is so tight. Those top 3 teams, they're all within 3 points of each other. So it's going to be really crazy as we get down to this stretch. Although I think Florida, with 2 games more than Carolina and Tampa Bay, they might end up being that third team because they have 2 more games and 1 more point than Tampa. So I feel like they're going to slip down a little bit, but we'll see. They've been playing hot. They split with Nashville actually the last 2 games. So that Central Division is going to be a lot of fun. But we look at this West Division as well. So those top 3 teams locked in: Vegas, Colorado, Minnesota. They've all clinched. I had Minnesota going in as my 4th team initially to go in the season. They ended up blowing that out of the water, getting this 3rd seed. And I remember deciding between Minnesota or Arizona. It's actually going to come down between St. Louis and Arizona now as we come down to the final few games of the season. And I'm actually really worried about St. Louis. They've played 46 games and Arizona's played 49, and St. Louis only has 1 more point. That's a big deal this late in the season. When you look at Arizona, they've got 6 games left. St. Louis has 9. So yes, St. Louis has more time to make up ground, but Arizona, I mean, you only have 1 less point than a team that's played 3 less games than you. That's a huge deal coming down the stretch.
And they don't play each other. I mean, if you remember early in the year, they had a stretch where they played each other 7 times in a row. You remember that?
So they're done.
Yeah, they're not playing each other anymore. So you don't have those 4-point swings anymore. You have to, essentially, Arizona's going to need help. And I don't think in this division they're going to get that help because I believe St. Louis is playing Anaheim and LA a lot down the stretch.
Yeah.
I think they have a West Coast swing.
Yeah, well, Arizona gets, I mean, they get the Sharks, Vegas twice, the Kings twice, and then the Sharks twice again. That's pretty favorable if you can split those Vegas games.
Yeah, and those are must-win games. If you're going to get in the playoff, any team who's going to get in the playoffs, they have to beat those basement teams, especially now. But yeah, I'm looking at St. Louis here, and I'm thinking to myself, everyone else, they've got the least amount of games played in the division. Besides the teams that have clinched, they have the least amount of games played in the division, and they're in 4th place in a playoff spot. They can't blow it. Bennington, he's kind of he had a slow start, but he's kind of rebounding a little bit. St. Louis is starting to find their stride. Ryan O'Reilly's heating up. Tarasenko's getting back into stride after missing some time on the IR. Hoffman, he's been in and out of the lineup, but he's starting to get hot at the right time. So I'm looking at this. This is not the same team that won the cup in 2019, but this team is still a threat. Now, I think they're going to get blown out of the water by Vegas or whoever finishes in that top spot.
They have a way tougher schedule than Arizona.
St. Louis?
Yeah.
What's St. Louis's schedule?
They get the Wild, twice, then the Ducks twice, Vegas twice, Kings on the road, then the Wild twice. So they get the Wild 4 more times, who are significantly better than them right now.
Hmm.
And Vegas twice. So that's 6 games. And then you only get a break for the Ducks twice and the Kings once.
Yeah.
That's tough. 6 out of your next 9 games are against teams that are better than you points wise.
Yeah. I mean that is tough. There's one team that I do want to look at though. I want to look at LA. Right?
Okay.
They've played the same amount of games as the Blues. And how many points do they have? How many points back are they?
6. They're out of it.
There's 6 games. Yeah, but they've got a game against St. Louis. They play Anaheim twice, Arizona twice, and they got 4 against Colorado. I think at that point, Colorado's kind of locked into second place. Those are games to look out for. I haven't counted out LA either because they're getting Quentin Byfield. He's making his NHL debut tonight, I believe.
Oh shit! Good for him.
So I haven't ruled out LA yet. Yes, it's a long shot, but it's when each game in this year is when each game's essentially a 4-point swing. You never know.
And it's really interesting to see how these teams are winning because when you break down St. Louis and Arizona, Ryan O'Reilly and David Perron on St. Louis, 45 points each. The leading scorer on Arizona, 37 points. Leading goal scorer, 17 goals. Leading goal scorer on St. Louis is 20. But then after that, they have 2 14 goal scorers. So both teams, they struggle offensively. They don't have necessarily a lot of that. And I think the separation really is goaltending because you look at Binnington, 2.68 goals against. I'm loading up his save percentage right now. It's a 910, which isn't terrible, but it's not elite. And I think that's why they've lost some of these games. And, you look at Arizona here. I'm pulling, Darcy Kemper, 2.52. He's got a 907. Oh, so their goaltending is not that great either. So both teams really are kind of the same in the sense that they don't score a lot. Goaltending isn't necessarily stellar. They just are able to eke out wins in a division that's quite frankly pretty weak outside of the top 3. And, I like Minnesota as a team. They kind of have the same problems. Well, like Cam Talbot's been really good. He's had a really great season, probably a career year. I think in any other division, Minnesota might not be a playoff team. So I think St. Louis and Arizona have benefited from a weaker division. But still, I think with the advantage, with the better schedule, even though they might not be as good on paper, Arizona, I think, is going to slip into this spot.
Yeah, it's a tough call. I mean, obviously, with the games played spread, you never know. First of all, San Jose fucked me. Like, remember when I picked
I don't
them
know why you picked that. I don't know.
I mean, it's a weak division. Arizona and Minnesota, they didn't really impress me at the beginning of the year. I was horribly wrong about Minnesota, but
they really like blew me out of the water.
I mean,
And we always said they don't have that one guy, but now they do. They have Kaprizov, who's been unbelievable.
I mean, you'd want to talk about developing players. I mean, they, let a guy go develop in the KHL, bring him over when he's ready, and just impress. I think he's at 20 goals right now and 19 assists, something like that. He's 40 point.
Yeah, he 22 goals, 19 assists. But even them, though, their leading goal scorer, 41 points. After that, 32. Yeah. So it's really, it comes down to Talbot, who's had a phenomenal season. I mean, 2.33 goals against, 926 save percentage. So Cam Talbot is what's really kept this team in. Plus, it doesn't show up in the points leaders, but Jared Spurgeon has been great defensively this year, putting up offensive numbers as usual. But Fiala took a step back. Zuccarello came back late, and he's still top 3 in scoring for the Wild. But I think really with them, we always knew that they're always right there on the edge going into the playoffs. They always have a team that's structurally good, that they have the tools, but they always don't have that extra component. Like we just said, Kaprizov might be that guy. They've always been a team that plays well structurally. They just can't get that extra edge. Quite frankly, I don't think they still do. I think they go in, they're going to lose to Vegas or Colorado, whoever they end up playing. So, but still a step in the right direction for that organization.
Yeah, I mean, they've always been a bubble team that's, too good to tank and not bad enough and they're too good to tank and not good enough to make a cup run.
Right.
So they've kind of been in purgatory, but definitely in the right steps. I think the progress in wanting to play with a young talent like Kaprizov that can bring in free agency, drafting right, obviously is huge. But look, we can talk about Minnesota as much as we want. We can debate who's going to get in this 4 seed. Vegas and Colorado are going to meet in the playoffs. They will meet in the semis, and that's that this is the only division where I can confidently say who's going to be in who's going to win their playoff series. And it's going to be a hell of a series between Vegas and Colorado, but they're just in a weak division, like you keep saying. It's going to be Vegas and Colorado, and I'm happy that this is the only division that I can confidently say who's gonna win it.
Yeah, right. No,
Like
I agree with you. I mean, I think Colorado's on they're in the situation that the Lightning were in last year. You got to do it. I mean, this is the year. You're in a division where you have one opponent that you have to worry about in Vegas, and matchup wise, Colorado beats them talent wise. They have a better offense. They have arguably, I think defenses are pretty even. Although I think the top six for Colorado is really impressive, but Vegas, Shea Theodore, Alex Petrangelo, they're loaded up too. And it's going to be a really fun matchup. But I think Colorado, they have so much pressure on them as this core to say, we got to do this or they're going to blow this up and we're not going to have this opportunity anymore. I think that's the situation they're in. Personally, right now, I'd say Colorado will probably win that series, but we got to wait to see how they play in their first round. So now let's switch to that North division, I should say. I was about to call it Canadian division. This division's set. Doesn't look like anyone's going to slip in. It's going to be Toronto, who I think already locked up the one, Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Montreal. Even though any other division, Montreal doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs. They have 9 OT losses. Now, I think they're a different team than what they were when they started, picking up a lot of veterans, Eric Stahl. You bring in some defensemen as well. I think Gustafsson or one of those guys, Good Branson. It was one of those big G last names that came over. And they added some vets. And I think they're a different team in that respect. Carey Price coming back from a concussion hasn't been Carey Price. So I think Toronto is going to manhandle them in the first round, to be honest. And then I think Edmonton and Winnipeg, that's going to be a great matchup because I think both teams have a similar problem. They can score a lot, but they don't have a defense. That's the same. And honestly, Toronto doesn't have much of a defense either. The difference with Toronto is that even though they're not good defensively, they have guys on the defense that pitch in offensively. So at least it makes up for that. Edmonton doesn't really have that guy. Winnipeg doesn't really have that guy outside of Neil Pionk. North Division, I don't really see any threats going deep into the playoffs. Maybe Toronto. Maybe if Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl go on some godlike streak, which they're perfectly capable of doing, I could see that. But this North Division doesn't particularly worry me, especially because who cares if you finish first in this division? This is definitely the weakest division. So you're beating up on the Ottawas, you're beating up on the Vancouvers, who were infinitely disappointing this year. They were a team that I really was highly thinking of in terms of they developed their young talent well. They played so well last year. You saw things coming together, and then this year flopped. And you look at Calgary, they were a team every year. You can count on them being in the playoffs. What happened this year? They can't score goals. So, you look at the rest of the teams, Montreal's not a threat. And again, Winnipeg, Edmonton, very similar structurally, built the same way. We score a lot. We don't defend a lot. Toronto, we score a lot. Our defensemen score a lot, but we don't defend at all. So again, Toronto, they run into a Tampa, they're done. They run into an East of, I don't know which division's facing which. Right. Yeah. Boston, done. And Boston, they're 62 points in fourth place right now. Way more impressive than Toronto's 65. So think about that. First place in the North Division is 65. Last place in the not Metro anymore, the East Division is 62. So that tells you something in terms of the strength levels. But so now let's move on to the East. And this division is certainly one that's being talked about heavily. It's really down to the final 5 teams. The Flyers, as me, you, and Steve predicted at the beginning, they were going to fall off. I still had them in the playoffs. I didn't think they would miss completely. They're totally done. And it's because they can't score goals and Carter Hart's not good. and
What a
their defense
disappointment.
isn't good. And Vigneault, I think he's out of a job maybe forever because you can't go from number one seed to missing the playoffs. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Carter Hart was supposed to come in and be Philadelphia's savior. He was their franchise goalie, and he's been a healthy scratch at times. He's been the backup role at times. You know, I don't know what's going on with him, but I think that's where the core of Philadelphia's struggles have been, is that they didn't have that goaltender to make a big save to bail him out. You know, like the Lightning
Yeah.
have Vasilevsky, the Bruins have Rask, you know, the Leafs have Anderson.
Yeah,
You
like
know,
sorry to interrupt, but Carter Hart, 877 save
yeah,
percent. Like
like
that's
that's
awful.
horrible. And
Awful.
you look in the West. You know, Vegas got Marc-Andre Fleury and Robin Leonard. You know, it's just goaltending is such a vital position to not have. You know, not have a not have that guy in net. You're not going to be successful. And he was that guy last year. Carhart
Yeah.
was that guy last year. That's why they finished so high. Not solely because of him, but he's a big part of it. And now it's a flop. So I don't know if they need to tear up Philly. Giroux, Voracek, Van Riemsdyk, Hayes.
Someone's got to go.
They're all getting older. I think they need a roster. They don't need to rebuild, but I think they could use a shakeup.
I think they do need to. I mean, like Van Riemsdyk, 31 years old. Giroux hasn't been Giroux in 3 years. He's 33. Yeah. Voracek, mid 30s. If I'm them, I'm doing a complete teardown because they have tried year after year after year. They haven't advanced in the playoffs at all, except for, one round maybe. They're never scary going into the playoffs. They need a total rebuild. And I think the fans in Philadelphia will appreciate that because, again, they've tried with this core now 7, 8, 9 years. They've had Voracek, Giroux, all these guys, and they can't win. I think it's time to break it up. Here's the thing. The message was that when they got Vigneault, that was the message. They were like, this is the coach. He brought the Rangers to the Cup final. The Rangers went to the Eastern Conference final. This is a guy that can win in the playoffs. If he couldn't do it, no one else can. So they got to rebuild.
I don't know about rebuild. I think they've got too many young pieces to do that. But I think
sure. Like you can build around Farabee and what's his
Lawton.
face? Konechny and Lawton. Everyone else, though, take the trade call.
I think you can look at moving a guy. Hayes won't get moved because he's got too big of a
awful contract.
Horrible. You're not going to move Drew, your captain. I think Van Riemsdyk or Voracek is on the chopping block.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Van Riemsdyk, he leads their team with 16 goals. I mean, that's their team lead, 16 goals. So
that's not good.
No, not at all. I mean, and you look at the Rangers, they have 3 20-goal scorers, then one with 17. So they've got, and that was Panarin. He missed 10 games because of the whole Russia thing. So he would have been 25 goals by now. So, yeah, I mean, and assist-wise, Adam Fox leads the Rangers. So I'm going to start talking about the Rangers now and the Bruins and the Islanders because it's kind of this mix-up. Listen, I've said on this pod, I've been back and forth all year. You guys probably think I'm flip-flop supreme right here with the Rangers. I'm trying to be honest. Oh, wait. Here he comes, people. Steve Cashin is entering the room.
Oh, no way.
Oh, boy.
What a treat.
Oh, boy.
All right, let's talk about Vegas. Can we start talking about Vegas?
Whoa.
Cashin.
Whoa, he entered the room shirtless.
What's good? Yeah, I just got off of an exam. That shit kicked my ass.
Attaboy.
I know. I get on my phone. First thing I see after just nuking that exam is, yo, we're doing a pod. I'm like, oh shit.
Hey, well, at least you jumped in, and it was right about as I was about to say how beautifully the Rangers have been playing. And listen, I mean, we were just talking. First of all, actually, let's get your thoughts on the Lightning clinching that playoff spot last night. Adam made the point earlier. He said they're starting to look like they're getting into playoff mode, playing like a playoff team.
Yeah, there was a week there, a little stretch where they kind of concerning in a way. You're giving up a lot of breakaways, a lot of odd man rushes, and not playing really the type of style you want to be playing at this time of year. But I said the other night it's kind of like it's a cup hangover year, and you're at the point now where if you're playing 82 games, this is when you'd be kind of feeling that that kind of withdrawal effect, I guess. But no, I mean they're playing better hockey now. They're physical. They're fighting guys. You got Killorn, Luke Shen, guys just getting involved in the game, and they're playing a better style of play. The defense is locking down for the most part. Guys like Barboulay, who's jumped into the lineup, has played well. Palat's taking a bigger role. Point. So some good things there. And I told people all year too. It's you're doing this without Kucherov and Stamkos right now. So to still be winning games and playing the right way without your two big guns it's a big thing. And I still think people forget that Kucherov is going to be back come round one. Now, how much of an effect does he have? I don't know. Right away, not playing real time games, but I really like the way the Lightning are playing right now. There's still 8 games left to be played. Keep that trend going, and hey, they're back in the playoffs, and the Cup defense is officially underway. So that's always a good thing as a fan. So,
yeah, well, I mean, I made the point too. I was like, listen, the Lightning have that wiggle room now that they've won, that they can just say, listen, we know when to turn the switch on and when to turn it off. This is when you turn it on, and they were still able to be one of the best teams in the NHL without really. They had the switch half on the whole year. And it's kind of like the Warriors in basketball, the Chiefs in hockey, in football. Whenever you win a championship that next year, if you're lagging a little bit, you're in that clubhouse, you can do it. So it's like, we know we're getting in the playoffs. There's not that stress level where you're like, oh, well, maybe we're not going to get in, blah, blah, blah. They know how to turn it on. And the Bruins were doing the same thing in the East, kind of lagging all year, picking it up now, although they're kind of lagging again, which is good news for me. But listen, Lightning are going to be there, but we're this division as well. And we had this discussion last week. So who are you? We were talking about Nashville slipping into that 4 and why we think it would be more dangerous for them to get in than Dallas, especially number one, Dallas is 12 OT losses. So really they're like 21 and 28 or whatever it is. So they're really, they're well under 500. They don't have Radulov, Sagan, all these guys. The COVID messed them up in the beginning of the year. Nashville only 2 OT losses. Saros been playing out of his mind. But I said to Adam, he said he was a little worried about if you get that 1 seed to face Nashville. I was like, I wouldn't be worried at all. Vasilevsky is the number 1 goaltender in the NHL. So why are you worried about the other goalie being off, high, really good? You've got Vazzy. I wouldn't be scared at all.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. I've been going back and forth on who you want to play or whatnot, but in this year, I don't think it matters who you play. Yes, you might want to stay away from a Carolina or a team like Dallas that sneaks in as playing good hockky.
Not Florida.
Florida's great. I think they're a good enough team where they're fast, they're big, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to tread lightly because I don't want to eat my words come like late May.
Yeah, we don't need CJ coming on shitting on us.
Yeah, exactly. A team that really doesn't have a ton of playoff experience on that team. Yes, they have veterans that have been around. They know the game, but the playoffs, it's a different animal. But back to the main point, I think if whoever gets that 1 spot, I personally wouldn't want to be playing a Dallas or a Nashville that gets in just because they're going to be humble with the fact that they're in. They've been fighting all year long to do it, and to get in a 7-game series, they go, all right, now we have a chance to go make a cup run. That'll give any team some sort of life. Look what happened when Columbus made it in the year they swept the Lightning. They barely got in, but they got that 7-game series, took every inch of what they got, and they ran with it, and they dominated, and they lost in 6 games to the Bruins in the second round. So personally, Carolina can go take that whoever gets in, whether it's Dallas or Nashville. I think it's Dallas at the end of the day. I just think they play a better style than Nashville does, and they might run out of gas, but it's going to be very close. I think it comes down to the last 2 games of the season. Unfortunately, I think Dallas plays the Lightning 3 times, but Nashville also has a tough schedule. They have to play Carolina, Florida, so it's a toss-up. I think it's going to be a battle. Whatever happens, this first couple rounds, you're still playing in division who you've played 9 times, and now add 6 or 7 more games to that. It's going to be a bloodbath. So I don't think any matchup's easy for any team going into the first round.
All right. What about your opinions on the West? We got St. Louis, Arizona, point apart. Arizona's played 3 more games than St. Louis and has 1 less point. I did look at Arizona's schedule, way easier than St. Louis. St. Louis is not who they used to be. Arizona's not that threatening either. Who do you think grabs that final spot?
I think it ends up being St. Louis. I think they have enough experience going that cup run, as much as that is worth. But they have 3 games in hand on the Coyotes, which I believe they're tied right now. Oh, they're 1 point ahead of Arizona.
St. Louis has got 48 points with 46 games. Arizona 49 games, 47 points.
Yeah, I think that'll end up coming back to hurting Arizona. If St. Louis can take advantage of those games in hand, then it pretty much buries Arizona. I think St. Louis gets in at the end of the day. They play Minnesota they play them 3 games this week on the road.
That's tough, Anaheim. Though. I mean, you're talking over 10 points better.
Yeah, they play Minnesota the last 5 of the next 10 games, and they play Vegas twice on the road. So it's a tough stretch. I think the Blues can do it. I think they have more consistent goaltending. Now, it's not saying much with how Binnington's played this year, but I think with the issues with Arizona, finding that a little inconsistent throughout the year with their goaltenders and Kemper and I think it's Ranta. That's their backup.
Yeah.
I think just St. Louis has a little bit more depth scoring wise. So I think that'll carry them into the playoffs, but that's another battle that's going to be just razor thin margin come the last 2-3 nights of the season. So I would give the edge to the Blues as of right now.
All righty. So now we move to this East. So we were just talking about the Flyers too, about how they've completely fallen apart. Carter Hart, 877 save percentage. God awful. I'm of the opinion. I know, right? I mean, like nobody on this podcast said anything about that, but I think the Flyers should rebuild. Your leading goal scorer is Van Riemsdyk, 16 goals. Vigneault's been awful. He got absolutely dominated by the Rangers like 3 times. And they brought him in saying, oh, well, he went to the Cup with the Rangers. He went to a few Eastern Conferences. We want him to be our playoff leader. They didn't do shit, and they're not scary. They don't have any – all their guys are getting older. Giroux, Voracek, Van Riemsdyk's 31. To me, to break up the group, they haven't won anything.
Yeah, they're in trouble. I really don't know what the direction is there. There are a lot of expectations after that, making it to Game 7 against the Islanders. You were 1 game away from going to the conference final, and you really kind of just didn't show up in that Game 7. And there was hopes that the expectation was going to be there. Oh, we'll get back, make it to the playoffs, make another deep run. It didn't happen. They fell flat on their face. I think we all kind of called it. I don't know what we have to go back to our, playoff or mid-season previews or whatever. I think we all weren't buying in on the Flyers. I think the goaltending was always an issue. Hart had a great end of the year last year. They had a not a fluke run, but they had a great 20 game stretch at the end of the last year, and it carried into the postseason. So you saw the true colors of the Flyers this year. They're a 500 team. They're coming out and beating teams 6-1, and the next night they're going out and getting beat by Buffalo 5-1. You're like, yeah, what the hell is going on? I think it's time for them to rebuild. Get rid of your guys that have been there, Giroux, the Voraceks. Go get something for them and start rebuilding. And you have guys like Konechny on the team you have younger guys that can do it and take some bigger roles. But I think it's time for the Flyers to really evaluate where they're at, because if you wait too long, the value of those players go down. You're not going to get much for them when they're leaving the door. So I think for Philly, it's time to rebuild for sure.
All righty. So Adam, we'll get to your prediction I know you have to get out of here in a few minutes, but so you look at this final spot, you got Islanders at 63 points in 49 games. The Rangers play them the next 2 games, and the Rangers are 5 points behind. So if they win both games, I mean, all hell breaks loose. And then the Bruins, 48 games, 62 points, Rangers, 50 games, 58 points, but they have the best record in the NHL, most points in the NHL since my birthday on March 17th. So, they started playing well because of me. I don't know. Who knows? And Adam Fox is better than Victor Hedman, confirmed. But anyway, I think the Rangers, listen, I'm going to be honest about them. They've been playing great hockey. I mean, they've done everything that they can possibly do to get to this point. The only thing you can do is win games, and they've been the best at that in the NHL over the last month and a half. But it still might not be enough, because the Bruins have been doing the same thing, and the Islanders, they've kind of been up and down. But listen, the Rangers have a lot of guys that can score goals. Panarin, Zibanejad, Strome, Fox leading the league in defensemen and assists. All seriousness, Hedman is beyond limits better than Adam Fox. I mean, I'm joking, of course, but Adam Fox had a tremendous season, 42 assists. Some of the moves he makes out there on the blue line, stick handling, walking around guys, no look pass. I mean, the guy's a freak show. So Adam Fox has been fantastic. Lafreniere has started playing really well. He actually last night he scored a goal, and he went to Strome before they scored, and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna get one here," and they scored on that shift, and he scored. So Lafreniere starting to get really confident. Why? Oh, I don't know, David Quinn. You're playing him with Panarin and Zibanejad. I guess that's what happens when you play him with other superstars. But Ryan Strome, he's outscoring superstars right now. He's outscoring Kopitar. I got to look at the list again, but he's outscoring superstars right now, which is like Ryan Strome is doing this. I mean, my dad wants him out of town because he's too small. So Zibanejad's been fantastic, 20 goals. He's had like 2 hat tricks this year. Chris Kreider, interesting stat, 43% of the Rangers' screen goals he's been on the ice for, which is like, that's an amazing stat to me.
Big.
Yeah, and so he might not have the stats on the score sheet, but that stat's unbelievable. So bottom line is the Rangers know how to win games at this point. They did it last year. They surged at the end. Shesterkin's been a top 5 goaltender over the last month and a half. Absolutely unreal, but it still might not be enough because Boston, like Tampa, they know when to turn it on and off. They know this time of the year, okay, boys, we've been here before. We go to the playoffs every year. This is when we buckle down and win games. Islanders, I think they're too talented to miss, although they haven't been playing well. Anders Lee, big loss. So, Adam, what do you think goes on here in the East?
I think Boston's going to get in. I think Taylor Hall's been a nice fit there. I think he's going to push them over the edge. In terms of playoffs, at least, I think Boston gets in, especially because they've got 2 games in hand on New York and a game in hand on the Islanders. I don't think you blow that lead. Not a team who's been to the playoffs and has been there before. And like you said, they can flip that switch. So now we're talking about the Islanders and the Rangers. You know, it's going to come down to if the Rangers have to win both games against the Islanders. If they lose one, if they go to overtime, they're done. They're dead in the water. Because the Islanders, same situation. They're a team who can flip that switch and they can go into playoff mode. So if you give them that life, if you give them that loser point, if you give them a win, the Rangers are done. So if they go 2-0, the Islanders still have a game in hand, but the Rangers are 1 point back. Like you said, all hell breaks loose, and it's anyone's guess. But, you know, there's most of the teams, they have 6, 7, maybe some 8 games left. I mean, we're not going to know playoff matchups. We're not going to know anything until the season's over, and I can't wait. I'm excited for the push to the playoffs, and I'm excited to get playoff hockey started.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think the final, as much as I want to say it, I'm looking at this right now, and it's just the 2 teams that the Rangers are chasing. The teams they play at the end are just horrible. I mean, I'm looking at the Islanders here. You have the Rangers who they control their own destiny. Like Adam said, like they have to win a regulation. If they win a regulation, then you let fate kind of fall where it places. But the Islanders and Boston both played Buffalo twice, 2 more times, and they both played New Jersey 2 more times. So you look at that, you're going to need a lot of help there. I mean, who knows what happens? It's NHL hockey. And maybe the Sabres pull something out of their ass, and maybe the Devils find a way to steal a couple games or whatever. But those 2 teams know how to turn it on. They know how to play that style of hockey. I don't think you're going to see that meltdown this time of year. But hey, who knows? Anything can happen. I just think it's unfortunate because the Rangers have played probably the best hockey. They've been top 5 in the league. One of the best teams in the last month and a half, 2 months, and it's unfortunate to see because they're talented, and it'd be a fun team to play not play in the playoffs, but a fun team to watch if you're not a fan. But I think unfortunately they're going to come up. I think they come up like 2 points short, just 1 game. It's just running out of time. I said the other night, if this was 82 games, they'd be well on their way to pushing and making a playoff spot. It's just short in year. The circumstances just aren't in their favor, but who knows? Hey, you can only start with what you can do tomorrow night. It's winning against the Islanders and going from there. And maybe you get some help from the Sabres along the way, but just a lot of things need to go right. I think the top 4 stays the same unless something catastrophic happens in that 3 or 4 hole.
No, yeah, I agree with you guys. I got to be honest about it. Again, the Rangers have done everything they can possibly do over the last month and a half with the most points in the NHL. But again, like you guys have been saying, I'm echoing that. Islanders and Bruins know when to turn it on. The Islanders are a big team. I think playing them back to back. I think, let me check on that actually, if they're playing back to back. Yeah. So they're playing. Oh, no, they're not. So Thursday and Saturday, one home, one away. Yeah. And then the Rangers get the Capitals twice and then the Bruins twice. I mean, that's tough. I mean, you literally, you probably have to win 5 out of 6 games. Probably not going to happen. Although they played Washington pretty well. They played the Islanders pretty well at times. They played the Bruins well at times. They beat the crap out of the Bruins a few weeks ago. But again, switch on, switch off. Rangers are young too. And this has even happened during their point streak where they have games where they don't push hard enough because they're not experienced enough to say, okay, we need to turn it on. So that's what next year, going into next year, this is the sky's the limit with this team. They've got tons of talent and they know what to address, what the problems are. So who knows what next year looks like, but also no Trouba right now. So playing the Islanders without Jacob Trouba, that's a big problem. I mean, he hits everyone in sight. There was a stat that he leads the league in hits or something like that over the last few weeks. So not having him in the lineup is detrimental, really, when you're playing teams like Washington, Boston, Islanders, all rely on that physicality, especially with Washington getting Mantha, who's 6'5", submitted into their lineup. So you need big defensemen. Yeah, and the Rangers have Zach Jones, the kid who just won the college championship. He's too small. He's going to get pushed around in these games. He's not experienced enough. So again, I don't see it. But again, it's been such a fun team to watch. We'll see what happens. But in terms of those teams at the top, Washington, Pittsburgh, which teams do you guys like better? I prefer Washington.
Yeah, you can go at him.
Oh, wow. Thanks, buddy. All right, I'm about to head out here, but I'll finish this up real quick. I like Washington. They've got the game in hand. They're a point up. They're doing this without Ovechkin right now. He's going to come back healthy. This is a guy who has missed like 4 games in the last 8 years, something stupid like that. They're going to get him back in the lineup. He's going to be healthy. They'll push this team. They'll get the first place matchup, and then they'll choke it because it's Washington. That's what they do. Pittsburgh, if they play, I think Pittsburgh loses first round too. I think Boston's too experienced, and the Islanders are so good defensively. It locks them down. I don't think Pittsburgh can match that style. But whatever happens here, boys, in the next week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, I'm looking forward to it. The next time we talk, it's going to be a playoff preview. I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm ready for this. I'm ready to defend the title and ready for some good playoff hockey.
Hell yeah. One quick thing before you go, opinion on that NHL TV right? Because Steve and I will talk about that now.
Yeah, I think it's going to grow the game so much. I mean, I follow Bleacher Report online, and they're talking about basketball nonstop, football highlights, even baseball highlights. There's nothing about hockey. I think it's going to grow the game. I think it's going to be really good, and it's going to get the exposure that NBC never really got out for the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we'll let you go, Adam, and Steve and I will continue this combo. So we'll see you at playoff time, Adam.
Yep. See you, boys. Thanks for having me.
See ya.
All right, Steve. So I'll explain this more in depth real quick about the NHL TV rights. So I think March 10th it was, NHL struck a deal with ESPN. ESPN's going to get the next 4 out of 7 Stanley Cup finals. I think they get all-star game coverage as well. And then the NHL.TV package, which is what everyone uses to watch their team if you're out of state, that's now going to be transferred to ESPN Plus. So all these games, no more NHL.TV. App's going to be out of existence. You got to buy ESPN Plus now to watch regular season hockey. And then also just added this week, Turner Sports, which is TNT, CBS, TBS. They also do the NBA. They do baseball playoffs with TBS. They do March Madness. They do golf. They do AFC football. They do Super Bowl. They do everything. So CBS, Turner Sports, they've got a monopoly right now. They got a stake in every sport. And I think so now they get 3 out of the 7 next Stanley Cup finals. They're going to be streaming games on HBO Max, and they're going to be getting all of the outdoor games, including the New Year's Winter Classic every year. So like Adam said, this is awesome. I mean, NBC, they did a horrendous job of promoting the game. they were awful. First of all, you go into a hotel room, you're always going to find TBS, you're always going to find TNT, and you're always going to find ESPN. I'd never find NBCSN on basic cable. That first in of itself is the biggest thing about this, because now it's accessible to people with normal cable TV flipping through the channels. Oh, there's hockey. So I think from that standpoint, it's great, but flat out, Turner and ESPN are better production companies than NBC is, just flat out.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to grow the game, like Adam said. It's going to grow it exponentially. I think I've always enjoyed watching NBC. I like the broadcast. It kind of makes it feel exclusive a little bit, but that's as a normal hockey fan. We've grown up watching the game and very into it. We're going to watch it anyway and anyhow. And the average person's not going to go, hey, I'm going to go purchase NBCSN to go watch the Stanley Cup playoffs, So I think with this deal, it's going to grow the game. It's going to market it really well. And I think for ESPN to jump all over hockey, which you could see that it was becoming the wave when ESPN Plus kind of started taking some games and starting to stream it on their platform. And you kind of were like, for me at least, I was like, what is ESPN doing here? They started covering hockey the last couple of weeks before they announced the deal a lot more, showing more hockey highlights, just talking about the game more in general. And I was like, there's something going on behind the scenes. And they released that they made the deal. And so once they made the deal, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Now you can market guys like McDavid, Matthews, Stamkos, Kucherov, Ovechkin, all these guys to people that maybe don't watch hockey every night. Now on Instagram and Twitter, ESPN can tweet out highlights and post more hockey highlights. Now people are seeing this, how fun the game is and how exciting it is. And then yesterday they come on and say, oh, Turner Sports has agreed to a 7-year deal, which is huge. I mean, look at NBA, the NBA on TNT, TBS covers baseball, like you said. It's going to revolutionize the game. It's going to, the scope is going to reach so many more people. Bleacher Report can post highlights now of NHL stuff. So I think it's going to be amazing for the game. And it's, as a fan, I don't know how people don't love the sport. I get it's kind of confusing to understand when you first start watching it, but for the ordinary person, if they start watching the game, it's going to be awesome. It's the best sport, I think, out there. It's fast paced. It's over in 2 hours. There's fighting. There's everything you want in the game. And I think it's amazing. And a thing on the NBC real quick too, is they didn't, like you made a great point, they didn't market the game. They kept it so exclusive where people couldn't find the game. Like you go to a hotel and you can never find it. Maybe once in a blue moon, but now I can turn on a game. Let's say I'm on somewhere I'm not, on a hotel room, turn on ESPN. Wow, hockey's on the night, or TBS, TNT. There's NHL hockey, the primo game of the week. So this is monumental. It's going to grow the game. NHL has really they hit the lottery here. They're only going to make more money, and it's going to. I think, I hate to say it, it's going to take over baseball in a way. It's going to.
It might very well.
And the MLB needs to start doing something to kind of counteract and stay up with these leagues, because it's going to be the NFL and the NHL. The two leagues that have
the NBA's ratings are worse than they've ever been.
Exactly. And so now the NHL is seeing that and they're going, all right, let's capitalize on what they're not doing right. And I think they've really hit a home run here. And it's going to be the NFL and the NHL that are going to just really kind of just have the monopolies of the sports world. So it's exciting to see as a hockey fan. I've been waiting for this for a while, and I just can't wait for it to get in motion.
Yeah, and I think I was thinking about it the other day. Who knows if this is true, but I feel like might be why Mike Emmerich retired a little bit early. He's probably like, I don't really want to go work with another network. I'm good with NBC, finishing up my legacy there. But I was thinking, like, we could do a little draft. Who are we taking from NBC? Because I mean, there's some good people over there. And now it's like, okay, you got to divvy up all these analysts between two networks now. Who knows if even all of them keep doing it. I think really, and it feels bad, but the only guy I would keep from NBC, like that I would really push for, is Brian Boucher, who does the Inside the Glass. He's on the main crew right now, former goalie, and he's usually on the main crew in the Cup final now. But other than that, like, can this please be how we get Pierre Maguire off the air, or how we get some of these like goons like Keith Jones, who provides no insight? Like, this is the time where you can pick guys that are TV friendly, like NBC did. They put Patrick Sharp up there. He's fantastic, good looking guy, knows what he's talking about. They need guys that aren't these old curmudgeon, emotionless people, or a guy like Pierre that annoys everybody that listens to the game. So, and listen, I respect Pierre Maguire, professional and everything, but he's memed on to the extreme with the amount of fun facts he puts out. My dad and I joke about it all the time. It's like every player he talks about, he's like, oh, he played 15U hockey in Westminster, Minnesota with Ryan McDonough. He does it all the time and nobody cares. So if there's anyone from NBC, do you think they should keep Olczyk? Should they keep Patrick Sharp, or should they do clean slate and get a whole new slate of analysts?
I think it would be a injustice to the league or the sport to kind of clear house here. Personally, I don't want to see I mean, Barry Melrose does a good job on ESPN. But I think he gets kind of one-sided in a way sometimes with his commentating and where he wants to pick teams. But I think the NBC does a good job with what they have already. And obviously, I would like to clear house with the Piers of the world. I'm looking through here. Who else? Keith Jones. He adds no insight, like you said. The guys that I would keep would be Eddie Olczyk, Kenny Albert, who I like when he calls games, John Forsland, who just became the number one guy.
Well, actually, he's the Seattle guy now.
He'll be the Seattle guy, but he'll still be on like the national broadcast. So I think keep him. I think you do keep him for those big national, like Wednesday night rivalry games or like the big primo games. I think you keep, like you said, who is it? Boucher in between the glass. And then the guys.
The sad thing though is like with the play-by-play guys, Kenny Albert, he's with Fox as well. So he might just void his NBC contract, but Mike Tirico is Big Show at NBC.
Yeah.
And he does a great job with hockey, but he ain't switched. He's not leaving NBC.
Yeah, that's what sucks because he does a great job. I like him commentating games. I remember you and CJ were like, is that Mike Tirico announcing? And I'm like, yeah, he does a really good job. He's very poised, calm. He knows the game, but he does all those big events for NBC, like Sunday Night Football. He does golf, the big golf tournaments, the Olympics, Kentucky Derby, all that. He covers all those events. So it'll be hard to get him to void that contract. I don't think that happens. But all the guys like Patrick Sharp, I'm blanking right now on what his partner, who's always there.
Anson Carter, maybe?
Anson Carter. I love him. He adds great insight to the game. Very, very intelligent individuals on that show. So I think they should I think they really should transfer them over because that would add some insight to what is already there. And then you can hire new people and piggyback off those people that you can pick the brain and go from there. But I think they'd be doing themselves an injustice by not adding those guys that have been there for a long time.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, now that NHL Network, they basically confirmed they're not broadcasting games. Kevin Weeks, get out of the studio and do games, bro. Kevin Weeks is the best thing that ever happened to that channel. He needs to hop in the booth. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I would like to see him, doing a color analyst role, and really kind of picking people like just really like he's very intelligent, knows a lot about the game, and to have him in the booth or in between the glass somewhere would be awesome. Because I always love watching NHL Network and watching the game recaps, and he's talking about goaltending, positioning, or defensive guy, how the team's playing defense. Just anything about the game he just sounds very intelligent, knows what he's talking about, played the game at the highest level. So to have him on the team or wherever he goes with TNT, ESPN would be awesome. I think they really got to capitalize because they have a lot of people that know a lot about the game, and they could really hit a home run here with their cast and crew.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I just wanted to add CJ's thoughts here at the end about the Florida Panthers. I asked him if he had anything to say. He said, amazing that we clinched. Young guys being injected into the top 6 is amazing. Lines 1 and 2 are rolling. Sam Bennett has been awesome. And right now we need to find out which goalie it's going to be. And he's right about that because Bobrovsky's back to being inconsistent. Dreger, I think he's injured right now, and but he's been on a roll all season. And I do like the Sam Bennett addition. He's been really nice up the middle. And CJ's been on it all year about play the young guys, because Q is very stoic about, you need to play basically a perfect game as a young player to be put into the lineup. So what are your thoughts overall on the Panthers?
Yeah, all animosity aside, don't like them, but I've been to 2 Panthers games in person this year at Emily. They're fast. People do not sleep on the Panthers. Don't disrespect them, because they will shove it in your face. They will take it to you, and they're big. They're fit. I wouldn't say they're physical. They're a big team. They can move the puck. They can score. What kind of concerns me with them is their goaltending. Not that the play is bad, but it's like with all the teams in the Central Division, except for the Lightning and Dallas. They have 2 goalies. They're switching around 2 goalies. They're going with Drieger and Bobrovsky. Come playoff time, you're gonna have to pick a number 1 goalie. You start flip flopping you can't do that come playoff time. You have to be like, okay, hey Drieger, you're our number 1 for the foreseeable future. We're gonna ride him out. And then if it goes south, Bobrovsky goes in, and then it's set in stone. You can't be flip-flopping. So I think for the Panthers, the first step is solidifying that goalie spot going into round 1. I think they can score enough that they can do some damage come playoff time. It's the experience level for me. Like I said before, do they have enough guys that know how to grind out a 7-game series, and when it starts getting tough, to not give up and kind of keep grinding? Because the regular season, it's great. You can skate around. There's a ton of room. You can score 5-6 goals a night. But come playoffs, you know this for a fact. I mean, you've watched a fair share. The Lightning and Rangers series was a battle. It went 7 games, and a lot of those games were 2-1, 3-2, and it's like space is hard to come by, and it's like you're playing in a closet.
That's where Ekblad getting injured really hurts them a lot.
Exactly, and they have a lot of young guys in the back end of the defense. Yes, you got Sam Bennett from the Flames, who has played well since he's been acquired. So that kind of filled that void a little bit. But I think losing Ekblad, who knows the game, can move the puck, he's physical, that'll hurt them come late May. But I think they'll be just fine. Whoever they play, whether it's the Lightning, Carolina, we don't know what the seating is going to be like. It's going to make me nervous because I know how good they are. They're not the old Panthers we're used to watching, but they're talented enough to go as far as they want to go. It's the mindset. They have the right coach, and Coach Q. He's got that team on the right track, and he's bringing hockey to South Florida and making them very competitive. And I hope their fans show up, because this is a treat. And if they really go and experience this, it could be a special run for them. I hope it's not if we play them, but at the end of the day, if they make a run, good for them, and wish them the best. But until then, I hope the Lightning or someone beats the hell out of them. So, but yeah, they're still talented. I think they'll be just fine.
Yeah, we will see. We will see. We're down to the last 2 weeks, 6 to 8 games left for most of the teams in the NHL. It's going to be a really fun stretch as we finish up here. So CJ and I, in about 2 hours, I'm going to his in-home theater. We're going to be recording a pre-draft pod where we're going to be doing over/under bets for every game, for every draft pick. So, for example, Jalen Waddle going above or over/under 9.5. So we're going to be doing a lot of that. Draft is Thursday night, so this is Wednesday, so it's tomorrow night, and that's going to be audio only because we can't really find a good way to record anything in an in-home theater. But sound quality is better, so there you go. But yeah, it's going to be fun. Your Bucks literally keeping your entire team from last year. Pretty frustrating, but yeah, time to hate on the Bucks. And then, so strictly baseball, we'll do it soon. I'm moving out this week at FAU, so we're going to need a few more days for that. So probably sometime next week is when I can rant more about the Yankees. And then we got strictly Rangers, going to do that soon when I get home. My dad and I can do that in person, and then strictly Yankees going to wait a little bit as well. So if there's anything left for you to say, Steve, you could say it. And if you have anything.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, I think we capped off all the everything hockey related. I haven't been on one of these in forever, so it's going to be back. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting stretch the last the last week and a half. I know your Rangers are going to be it's playoff mode for you guys. It's a game 7 every night, so I'll be rooting for them. I want them to get in. That was my playoff pick, so I don't want it to go crashing and burning, but we'll see. I don't like the Islanders as well, so will help us both out. But yeah, I mean, I'd be exciting to talk about baseball coming up here in the next week. The Rays kind of took a step backwards. The Yankees can't seem to figure it out. It's frustrating, but still very early. It's a young season, and we'll see if the Rays can get a dub tonight against the A's. That's a team that's turning it around. And But yeah, no, we can talk some more baseball next week. And yeah, like you said, the Bucks too, signing literally everybody from last year's team. Business is booming. Hey, can they repeat? I don't know, but I'm excited for Bucks football for the first time, like a preseason excitement for the first time, and I think ever since they've been around. So it'll be exciting. I'll pay whatever it takes to get into the building night 1 or something, because that'll be electric. If it's full stadiums, forget about it.
Hey, well, we can root for whole stadiums. I'm not rooting for another Brady ring. I can tell you that. I'm done.
Adiel will be all over it.
Believe me, yeah. Now he's going to call me a Brady hater just because I don't want him to win. Okay, all right. We'll see. We'll see. Giants pick Jalen Waddle. All right, so you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify. You can find us on YouTube. Look up Strictly Sports Productions. We organized all 5 podcasts into playlists, so you can easily find them on the Strictly Sports Productions YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at Strictly Sports P, on Facebook and Instagram at Strictly Sports Productions. For Steve Cash and Adam Kupferman, I am Jacob Brown, and we will see you next time.